wages and conditions in Australia.
They try and take advantage of mainly women workforces and in many cases migrant workforces, and they try and also set up workplaces where people are not able to effectively talk to each other, let alone organise. And that is true in Australia as it is around the world.
All the blockades are secure around the stock exchange. But the specific proposal I'm putting up is that we march from here up to your lawn, energy and blockade your hands up.
In Victoria, Jeff Kennett was the Conservative Premier of Victoria. They said we've got too much debt, and so what they did was sold off the power generation. The Trove Valley was traditionally a very strong union heartland. They retrenched about 20,000 workers. The unemployment rate in the Trove Valley now is the highest in the country. Officially is 18.3%. It's probably about 30%. Massive drug problems. All the towns are ghost towns. But now we have a situation where some transnational corporations own each of the power generation companies, jack up prices. There's no regulation. They can do what they want. So there's, if you like, a small example of what happens with corporate globalisation.
Increases in ambulance times, for example, are a product of government cuts in funding, which are a product of the obsession with budget surpluses, which are themselves a demand of the corporations to increase their own liquidity and profit levels. So even down to like basic things in a community level, that's a flow on from the globalisation of corporate power. On a worldwide scale, the number of people who live in abject poverty, in extreme poverty, is actually increasing. From 1.2 billion at the moment, it's estimated it will have increased to 1.9 billion people by the end of this particular decade. And that is a result of such things as the imposition of massive debt burdens on poor countries which they can't pay off, of crises in currencies and economies which are caused by corporations putting money in and out again as the profits go up or down, which makes economic development planning in any third world country almost impossible. A whole range of things.
It's not about trying to make a better world, it's about trying to make fewer and fewer people more powerful and richer.
As we see it, there is nothing wrong with the spread of good communications, the ability for people to travel a lot easier, the ability to have access to technology that can improve quality of life. They're all very good things. But unfortunately, there's only very few people at the top who are actually taking off most of the benefit of what should be a magnificent development in the 21st century.
The direction of corporate globalisation itself is pretty clear. It's towards the creation of worlds within worlds. That is, a highly wealthy, educated, internet-savvy elite within both the first world and the third world countries, and then a mass of poor working people who create their wealth.
Corporate globalisation is built on imperialist globalisation, so that the centres of power in corporate globalisation are still in the old north, in North America, Western Europe, and in the last 30 years, some parts of East Asia.
75% of all foreign direct investment is between the big countries. 25% of the rest of it is to third world countries, but of that, between 80 and 90% is concentrated in 20 different third world countries. So those are the big countries: China, Argentina, Brazil, Korea. For example, sub-Saharan Africa, the poorest region on earth, gets less than 0.5% of all investment flows every year. But when you break that down even further, a lot of this foreign direct investment isn't necessarily even productive investment itself. In particular, the large flows of foreign direct investment into Latin America have been big first world companies buying up privatised Latin American telecommunications, petroleum. One of the biggest things at the moment in Latin America is European banks buying Latin American banks, which 10 years ago they couldn't do. So in that sense, there's no wealth creation involved, it's just cherry picking. And in many cases, even with the case of productive investment, that's also the case. Most foreign direct investment in third world countries that you could say is actually productive is concentrated in such things as mines, oil pipelines, plantations, for cash crops and such things. Not necessarily in building up infrastructure, which countries need, certainly not in providing social services. In many cases, mines will be far removed from population centres. There might be infrastructure built, but that infrastructure will be simply to service that mine. It'll be to take the produce of the mine to the nearest port.
It's designed not to really do anything that is needed in those countries in terms of genuine economic development. It's not really about, well, what's going to create the right sort of change within this country or within this community so people can survive, can eat properly and can, prosper in the best sense of the word. It's actually designed about, well, how can we get the most out of what is already a struggling people, and how can we get the most out of them and take that somewhere else.
Foreign direct investment is only one proportion of the immense flows going around the world. There's also a large part of it which is simply portfolio investment, which all that is speculation. We'll be speculating on the government bonds or corporate debt or corporate stocks in that particular company. And again, that's not actually wealth producing.
All that corporate globalisation is just another form of colonial imperialism. That simply dominates the South with huge flows of investment from the North to the South, exploiting the people of the South.
Just the amount of money that goes through international currency market today is $1.5 trillion, which is the equivalent of the third world debt of the 92 countries that most need debt relief. So, the sums that we're talking about are incredible sums, and if they were put to good use, the good would be immense, but what we're getting instead is this polarisation.
If you're going to answer yes or no, a simple answer about the world, I think the multinationals have got the upper hand.
You don't need no corporate greed, something's getting down. Get corporate people from the way we're going. We've been organised for them. We're exercising our democratic right to get out there and protest and to take a stand against the corporate shitbags and the capitalist scum that just want to fuck everybody over on the planet. We're going to get out here, we're going to march down to that blockade, and we're going to do a bloody good job of it.
Blockade, we've had lots of good chants. At one point we had a big row of horses over to my left and a big row of TRG cops. I think they tried to have a go, but we been trying to keep it calm.
The World Bank and IMF could easily cancel the debts of the world's poorest countries.
The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund were set up as